Hello and welcome to the AI Revolution Call with Cody Willard, the Bryce Smith, and John Dio. Where are you right now, Johnny?
I'm back in Virginia.
Where were you the last 2 weeks?
Near DC. Last 2 weeks I was in Barcelona, Marseille, Genova, Sicily, Capri Island, Malta, and then back home.
Wow, you were gone for 2 weeks full?
Yeah.
And how much time traveling was that?
The plane traveling was just 8 hours each way. Then we would go and on a ship each day to get to each of the different places. So
cool. Sounds like fun.
Well, I got sick the second week, so I don't know if it was COVID or flu, but just getting over it now. So missed out a little, but it was still worth it. It's good.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to relax on something like that anyway. Although I personally can't do ships, can't do cruises. Since 9/11, being around, stuck in crowds, not having control of my own destiny, I don't like.
Yeah.
I was on the West Side Highway with mobs of people trying to get out of downtown Manhattan.
I remember and then you picked up a bicycle and rode it all the way up.
That is it. Yeah. That was when I back on freedom. I had freedom again at that point.
Okay.
So, AI, John. I don't think when we were here last time, and you correct me if I'm wrong. Was everybody had everybody gotten kicked out of OpenAI the last time I saw you? Or did that happen while you were gone?
I feel like yes.
I think it was. I did too. Bryce, we talked about it, right?
They kicked out, but they left.
About it, yeah.
Can we just reiterate that I still think OpenAI is the Alta Vista / Theranos of the AI revolution? Somewhere in between. It's not quite as big a fraud as Theranos was, but it's not quite as big a disaster as Alta Vista was, but it's somewhere in between of all of it. I think Sam Altman is a scumbag, and he's going down hard at some point.
You're being recorded, and his AI is going to come after you. So be careful. But
Cody's got a Cybertruck now, so he can get away. He's
a
bulletproof vehicle.
Bulletproof. They can't shoot me.
So the way I don't think they're awesome or something. They've been first with some things, and what's interesting is if you look at take Sora for example. This is the cool technology OpenAI showed off, never released. Of making videos, you type in a sentence or something, and you end up with an actual video that looks like
supposedly. If you believe it, that's true,
right? And you can only be so much of a conspiracy theorist on that because you see the examples came out where people would say, okay, make it do this, and then 15 minutes later they had it. So you couldn't have done it with other.
They could have edited that video.
Didn't matter because since then others have come out with. That's essentially that same technology and have actually come out with it so that you can use it. And OpenAI has still not come out with it so that you can use it. Okay. So that's my actual point there is that they may have shown it first to the world like, hey, look at this cool capability. But then others went and said, hey, look at this capability. And by the way, here you can have it. And so that's happened now multiple times. And then so now you've got the most recent thing that came out with was this new kind of reasoning engine, and it's like, wow, nobody's doing that. And I said that my prediction is that others will fast follow on that capability, and it looks like just no one's done it yet. I mean, it's only been 3 weeks or something, but it looks like, folks, that's where they're headed. Is that they'll
John? Did they just show it off and not release it again?
No, it's released, but it's not open source. But it's out there. I've used it, and it is, clearly a big advance. It's a lot smarter than it was. But on this one, my comparison for, they put it there, but the idea is, are they actually the only ones who can do such a thing or whatever. What's the guy's name is? I think Darius Amadei is
Darius Rucker.
Darius.
I want to hold your hand. No, what's the song? Oh my, Darius Rucker.
Yeah.
Hootie and the Blowfish, Bryce. Come on now.
Which song are you talking about?
Any song. Just name a Hootie and the Blowfish song.
We have not achieved AGI until the computer can interrupt you with a weird kind of tangent that it takes from what you're saying. So we're not there yet. But no, this is the guy who is...
Hold my hand. That's it. The Beatles saying, I want to hold your hand. Hold my hand. Sorry, John. I'm AGI almost, but I am interrupting and with bad tangents. Please.
That's okay. I'll remember here. So this is the guy, one of the original people who left OpenAI years ago and started one of their competitors called Anthropic, and they have their version of AI called Claude, which for a while there was thought is this is better than GPT's OpenAI's best thing. So I expect them to be one of the ones to come out with something that really competes with what OpenAI just did. Still not my point though. That is to lead to say that this guy, Darius Amadei, the CEO of Anthropic, came out with a 8,000 word, I don't know, maybe more, memo post a couple days ago that is the positive take on are we actually on a path, and could AI be on a path to success, and if so, what could that look like?
Basically, utopia. He predicted utopia.
I mean, but this guy, I gotta say, this is a normal guy. This is the guy who is responsible for what's been achieved by Anthropic, to this point. This isn't just it's not just someone like me pontificating. This is someone who's really building one of the leading AI engines of the world right now. By the way, his name is Dario Amodei. Okay, I had an S on the end of that first name. Dario. And maybe if I'd have gotten that right, we wouldn't have that whole thing about hand. But or Hootie and the Blowfish. So yeah, think of that though. Think of that. Yeah, it's the utopia view, and it's certainly not guaranteed, and its time frame is not guaranteed or anything like that. But I do stuff like I'd say, take his stuff he's saying that it'll do and divide by 10. Take his time frame and divide by 10, or multiply by 10 or whatever. It is still unbelievable. And
it is
what
don't you say multiply by 10, not divide by 10? You're saying if it took 10 times longer than he's picturing.
That's the multiply by 10. Yeah. And the what gets created, I said divide by 10. Say only a tenth of it gets created.
Okay, fair enough.
Only
Can you guys hear? Yeah. Can you hear Darius?
Yeah, we hear something.
Oh, I see. I thought I was going to hear Dario, but instead we went for the unrelated music tangent from Cody's head.
I did like I haven't read the whole paper yet, but I did like that he pointed out that he's usually talking about the risks of AI, and not out there just spewing just hype all the time. And there's a lot of that in the industry.
Well, his whole company is based on the risk side of it. Right. They were the ones who said,
they're the safe AI.
Right. Yeah. The OpenAI is not taking it carefully enough. They had, they would publish the quote, constitution that their AI is operating based on, so that when it's doing its thing, it comes through this set of rules to determine, what it's going to do or offer or whatever. So that's the way they were thinking of it from the beginning.
So by the way, we pasted the link to Dario Amadei's article right there, so that people watching, you can click on that and actually read it yourselves. There's an interesting write-up, if nothing else, just for the fact that, again, like John's saying there, he's been focused when he talks most of the time. It's about the risks and the downside potential of AI, even as he's been running a company that's raising billions of dollars from Microsoft and Amazon for his Anthropic AI. And it was nice to see him actually pontificate on what the upside and the virtues and the wonderful possibilities of AI truly are. We talk all the time on these calls, and Bryce and I in the hedge fund talk all the time about how the low-hanging fruit for AI is such things as like supply chain management and customer service, and interacting with your random Coca-Cola customer who's unhappy with something, or more to the point, like say Gap, someone wants to return an item, it can talk to AI completely. And then, you start thinking about Optimus robots, which will be the next topic I'm going to segue us to, and the potential for robots to do labor using AI, and where AI can truly go if you allow your mind to imagine things. And then even, John, 3 weeks ago, you introduced us to, or was it 4 weeks ago, maybe you introduced us to, is it called Notebook LLM?
1L. Yeah. Notebook LM.
Yeah. Notebook LM, which is one of the dumbest names for a podcast creation technology. Why don't they call it Podcast LM?
Well, it does more than the podcast. You could do a lot with it other than that. You could
say, I know, potting LM, something like Notebook LM sounds like it's something you write. This makes podcasts. At any rate, the point is, it is amazing, and it is something that I wouldn't have thought of, that LLMs and the first inning here of AI would actually have come up with. But Bryce, now every time we write an article, did you do it today with your Tesla article, Bryce?
I did, but I didn't end up putting it in. But I did make it.
Okay, let's talk about that for why we didn't put it in. This happened now twice in the last week. But every time we write an article, we upload it to Notebook LM and say, hey, create a podcast. And normally, most of the time, it's pretty darn good and interesting and something that we think would create value for our readers and subscribers and people who might listen to it. The last 2 times we did it, I guess, including today, Bryce, correct me if I'm wrong, the imagination of it all was
hallucinations.
We went from imagination to hallucination, and it made some stuff up last week. We tried it twice on my Q&A, and it was like, I don't remember what it was, but it was like, Cody's wildly bullish on everything, and we were like, whoa, hey, that's not quite the case, and so we didn't send it out.
Yeah, I would say that it's provided. My first thing I would try would be provide it with more. So even though you have like the latest thing you did and you just pop that in there, if you have some other things in there as well, and those are like titled background information or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? We should do that. And, we've had the Cody GPT that we uploaded 11 or 12 years worth of content from tradingwithcody.com. All the writing I've done over the last 12 years, we put it in a GPT at ChatGPT, and you can actually go search for Cody GPT on ChatGPT and play with it. And it is pretty darn accurate, John, to your point. When you have, millions upon millions of words to establishing the baseline concepts, it really does a pretty good job of keeping you. It doesn't hallucinate very much of what my approach is. It actually
it only hallucinates when it has nothing to work with. It doesn't. It hallucinates more when it has nothing to work with or something, not enough to work with. But
in general, John, you think more data is more accurate? Directly correlates to more accurate AI.
Yeah, it's not having to go because what it is it's going to answer no matter what. But if it has nothing to work with, it'll go, I guess I'll make it up. But if it has stuff to work with, it'll use it. So, but back to
it'll still hallucinate even when it has everything that you've ever written for 11 years. But
like
you're right, it's rare.
Where Bryce was shopping and things like that. But the just to close off on Darius, I think the really interesting thing Dario, sorry, thank you, Dario Amodei. And I think it's he and his wife that run the company.
Every time he says Darius, we're playing Hootie. I'm sorry, it's a direct correlation on that.
Yeah. So I just the real interesting thing is to me is the specificity, because lots of times you hear, oh, when AI comes, it's going to make us all smarter and faster and stronger, and things will go quicker and whatever. But having like lots of examples of here's exactly some things that will in the areas it will change in and how. that's just gives you something to kind of work with. And it reminds me of a little bit is kind of the Cody Willard Tesla investment strategy of, it's not about what happens next week. It's not about does he nail this or that particular estimate of what's going to go on. It's about the longer term and about valuing it not just as a car company, but as all of the rest of the technology that's in it and so forth. And when you look at it this way, you go, it's not about whether he's right that it'll be in 2026. It's not about whether exactly these, 28 items he mentions all come to fruition, but the fact that you look at it as this thing where we're in the 20s of things, not in the 2s of things, and that it's just the big picture look at the effect. That it reminded me of that.
Yeah, his number one thing that he pointed to was biotech, which we've been talking about some on this podcast and at Trading with Cody. One of the clearest beneficiaries of AI. I wouldn't say it's low-hanging fruit like customer service, but there's a lot of potential, and they're already using like AlphaFold from Google to make drugs, and so it is one of the clearest beneficiaries even in the near term.
And we added another biotech stock to the portfolio last week, in large part because of this potential.
Yeah.
Well, really, I don't know that we would own either Pfizer or our new biotech that we bought last week if not for AI. It is a direct correlation again. I think that might be my phrase of the day. Everything's going to be directly correlated to other things. And us buying 2 biotech stocks in the last 6 months has been direct correlation to the promise of AI's impact on biotech. Specifically, drug discovery and drug personalization. It will accelerate drug discovery at large, and it will enable the potential for, instead of the example I keep using because I happen to take it, rather than taking a generic Lipitor or Lipitor at all, a generic version of Lipitor, or just the standard version of Lipitor, eventually in 5 or 10 years, there will be personalized, customized versions of those statins like Lipitor that will be based upon your own personal metabolism, your own personal ailments, whatever other things might be going on for you. And the effectiveness of these drugs will increase exponentially over time as they are, quote, discovered faster and get through the system faster and out to the market faster. And just as importantly, as they're personalized for each individual person.
Don't you think too, Cody, like the long list of side effects that everybody laughs at when you hear a new medicine come out? Well, maybe next time, when you get your personalized version of Lipitor, you don't have the random side effect that affects 1% of people because they spot your gene. Oh, you're capable of maybe having that side effect. So they design a variation for you.
Yeah, that's a great point. I Bryce, you and I think we're just talking last week that there is, Amaris, for example, we give her at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. every day. There's a regimen of drugs that we give her, and all of them, I don't care how benign they might be, even just like something to help her gut, right? Like probiotics. Everything you put in your system has a side effect. There are side effects to every drug you're ever going to take. You can't get away from that. But yes, you can lessen those side effects and probably reduce some of them and even eliminate some if you personalize those drugs for individuals.
Yeah.
John, your thoughts?
I was thinking of the related kind of area from biotech of just medicine, your doctor, and I've been recently hearing of doctors, telling patients or saying, you really can now involve these language models in your treatment, in talking about, what's up with you and what ought to be, looked into or done or so forth. So they're looking to cooperate versus to, they realize these things are now kind of get what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Someone did a study the other day, and they used AI to help diagnose some conditions with, a large group of doctors. And the AI helped with the diagnosis, But the biggest problem was that in many instances, the doctors didn't listen to the AI, and so they would not diagnose it per the AI's recommendation, even though it turned out that the AI was actually right. So I thought that was.
I mean, sometimes there's diagnosis. Sometimes there's even just coming up with what test ought to be done, like what ought to be looked into. And if the AI is coming back and saying, have you tried this? Have you done an X and such test to see if it's this or that? And maybe the doctors will have won't be as resistant to just. Even,
they'll at least give them the test and then take credit for getting the right answer.
Right.
Yeah.
You left your camera, by the way. I don't know if you did that.
Oh, I didn't mean to.
No, I never said. Okay. Is that Hootie the Blowfish?
How many albums do you think they sold? 19. What is that? Probably 92, 93, that song? 94.
I was going to say 94 albums.
No, I'm betting they sold 9.4 million albums in 1994 of that. That was a number one hit. They had another few songs. Darius Rucker.
Yeah.
The AI.
I remember they came to visit Bermuda when I was there.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's another one. Oh, that's not it.
In 93 or something.
Is it 93?
Well, they came there when I was there.
They weren't anybody back then.
People knew who they were.
All right, let's talk about the Optimists.
I'll talk about anything till you turn that off.
I'm trying. Oh, that was going to the second song finally. I only want to be with you.
I'm sorry, turn it back on.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So look, Tesla had their big AI day Thursday night. Bryce and I live streamed it on our YouTube and other channels. If you didn't watch it, you should. It's we talked for an hour and 5 minutes because we started the stream 15 minutes before the scheduled time that Elon was supposed to come out and introduce the AI Wii robot extravaganza. And instead, apparently there was someone sick in the crowd. It didn't start until like an hour and 5 minutes after scheduled time. So Bryce and I filled up an hour and 20 minutes of talking about Tesla and their AI strategies, our history with it all. And frankly, it's interesting to listen to Bryce talk about that stuff. It's interesting for me to force myself to talk through that kind of detail because, if we filled up 15 minutes, it would have been the, top level stuff that we talk about easily on TV even, right? But after an hour and 20 minutes, we were deep down in the weeds. We talked a lot about different stuff. In general, it was a complete disappointment for even Bryce and I, frankly, for Bryce and me, frankly. We expected that Elon, we hoped and believed and expected that Elon was going to come out and say, in Austin, in 3 weeks, you will be able to summon a driverless robo-taxi Model 3 from the Tesla app. Here's what it looks like. Here's what the economics are. It'll come to San Francisco in 3 months after that. And by end of 2025, we should be in Phoenix and 8 other cities. And instead, Elon was like, yeah, next year in California and Texas, you will. I mean, the guy said you will be able to do this stuff for every year for 8 years. And so, even believers in Elon like us, we were like, yeah, great. Let us know when you actually have the app working and I can summon the car. Right. Because till then, it's all empty promises. And the stock was down 10%, 8%, something the next day. The market hated it. But stepping back for a moment, as Bryce and I wrote for Trading with Cody today, Elon delivers on these promises eventually. And I don't know if Tesla's stock is going to do anything good for the next 6 months. Could be dead money and or flattish to down, even down 20% in 6 months. But in 5,000 days or in 10,000 days, in 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, that stock should be markedly higher. I do expect that they're going to get the full self-driving in California and Texas in 2025. And I do expect that the Optimus robot will go on sale in 2026 or 2027. And while the Optimus robot was teleoperated, by human beings wearing basically like some sort of a devices on them that then the Optimus robot mimicked in real time, and they spoke through a microphone, and the Optimus robot would say, it would be the human being's voice that came out of the Optimus robot. That being said, the Optimus robot was walking around and even if it was human being operated at this moment and not completely fully AI, it's still pretty amazing that C-3PO is like Star Wars could make C-3PO now and actually just have a human being walking around doing, instead of it being a human being inside of the C-3PO outfit like it was when they made those movies. Yeah. And so stepping back, without a doubt, Bryce and I were both disappointed in the event and obviously the stock action the next day. But stepping back and just sort of recalibrating ourselves over the weekend, I got my Cybertruck after I did not get the Foundation series that I'd been offered a year ago, frankly, almost. But we ordered our Cybertruck the day that you could. 4.5 years ago, we put in our order for the Cybertruck. I finally got the Cybertruck on Saturday, and it's amazing. Like, I can see where it's going, and it's the best vehicle. I've said all along that Cybertruck will be the greatest selling vehicle in the history of vehicles within 20 years. And I still, after driving it now, I'm more confident than ever. In 20 years, that will be the greatest selling vehicle in the history of the planet.
Wow.
It's hard to see it talk about anything being, on the 20-year time scale when we have things changing so fast. But maybe the flying version of it.
Well, I just mean the number of units that will be sold. I mean, that thing's bulletproof, and you can drive over a fence or a tree and it doesn't hurt it. And it drives itself already. And I mean, it goes up and down, like it's easy to get in and out of, and it's roomy inside. It drives like a Cadillac. It's so comfortable. And
think about what its launch was like when they threw a big steel ball at it and broke the window after talking about how it was, bulletproof. That wasn't exactly the best kind of launch.
Oh, but John, it was. At the time, I even said, I was like, that is the greatest thing that could have happened. In fact, I think they actually planned it that way because everybody talked about it. It was the greatest piece. There is no bad news when people are talking about you nonstop. And to this day, what do you think of? You're talking about the Cybertruck when you see it.
Speaking of which, people are talking about the Optimus after that event. And despite and even being aware, some people weren't even aware of the teleoperation. I'm like, how are you going and describing this to everyone when you don't realize what's going on? Yeah. But, even with teleoperation, I feel the same way, which is, they're demonstrating so much of what's possible. And the learning of its ability to do those movements, et cetera, in the world is a given,
I mean, and the fact that the hands were like picking up a beer, a glass. I don't think it was real beer again, but it was like picking up a glass and pouring a non-alcoholic watermelon beer or something, whatever it was they were serving. It did that. Like, it's literally doing that in real time, teleoperated or not. That's like, it's amazing.
It's like Westworld. You walk around among all these things that are, doing the thing like that, and you're like, you're getting a feel for.
And to the point, 2 years ago, this thing didn't move. It didn't exist 2.5, 3 years ago. Bryce, when was the original reveal where they brought out the stupid human being in a Optimus?
Is that 2022, I think?
It's 2.5 years ago, right?
Yeah,
I think it was in 2022 when they did with the
dancer.
2.5 years. It was like a woman in a suit.
By the way, I never understood why C-3PO had his elbows locked and couldn't actually move his arms. That doesn't, it's like, if you want to do the standing up, walking around thing, make it a comparison. It's already better than C-3PO.
True that. I mean, C-3PO's knees didn't bend either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I guess, look, we never want to drink Kool-Aid and we never want to blindly follow anyone. But stepping back, like even with the event, I shouldn't have been disappointed. It's amazing what they're developing and how quickly they're getting to where they're getting, and to extrapolate out what Optimus robot was 2.5 years ago to today, and fast forward another 2.5 years, and that thing's going to be playing the car.
And then what is it like? Not even, or was it about a week later that SpaceX stomps on their own, kind of news there of technology coming out and does what it did yesterday, which if people haven't seen, they have to see, because it's like the moon landing. It's the most amazing. Yeah. It basically, as best way I've heard it put, was a building caught a building. And I was my daughter was visiting, and I said to her, looking at our place, and I said, from front to back in our townhome, that's the width of this thing. This thing is like 30 feet in diameter or something, and then it's 20 stories high, and it came out of space and got caught.
Yeah, I mean, the one I saw was it was an even better description. I'm gonna have to find it, but here I'll share the actual.
You don't see you top my description unless you actually top my description.
Well, I can top it. Okay. I can do it right now. It'd still be better. All right, that's the Statue of Liberty taking off. I'm sorry, it's a starship that's bigger than the Statue of Liberty, taller than the Statue of Liberty, going into space, people.
Yeah, and it could hold say 100 people. If you think of it right, mostly we think of like 3 people going up in a spaceship. In a rocket.
Oh, come on,
that was on purpose.
The capture. Oh my gosh! Seriously, that's the video. Well, we want to see the landing.
Yeah, that they sent off the top part of the rocket into the ocean, and they intentionally exploded it. Something went wrong there.
This is what we
3, 2, Starship. Blessed coming down through the Pluto, largest rocket, sending a ship into orbit.
A gorgeous view of planet Earth.
But this new chapter in space history is all about what happened back on Earth.
You can see it coming down through the plume.
All for a moment once thought impossible. The rocket guides down to the launch pad, where it is literally caught by giant metal pincers.
Oh my God.
Former astronaut Mike Massimino was in disbelief.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It's historic. Mm-hmm. And this is, the same guy. And I just saw this page from the, Isaacson book about Musk or something, that, in there is this story of Musk saying to the team, hey, why don't we use the tower to catch the thing? And people are like, no, that's crazy, whatever. It's like, it's in the book well before this, happened and everything. And so, yes, you can doubt the timelines, but but most of this stuff actually comes through.
I mean, the proof is in the pudding. They're landing the Statue of Liberty in some pinchers.
Yeah. I was a lot of people on the YouTube comments didn't know why they were doing that. Why catch it? Why not just have it land?
Because that's where it's going to take off from. They're going to be able to turn it around in an hour. They're going to catch. They'll blast the cargo or whatever it is, in the people, whatever you're sending to space, into orbit or to Mars or the moon. That booster, though, at the bottom that was caught, that part will get caught, and then they'll bring another cargo top or the humans, whatever you're going to put on top. You put it back on top, and an hour later, from the same spot, you're launching again.
And they were doing cryogenic testing on this one right after they caught it, and were like, how ready is it to get refueled and stuff. So they're already testing out all of the next aspects, and I think they're planning to catch the top half as well.
Yeah.
So they're going to do that, and then there's the whole thing about the military wanting to have the way they today have naval bases, to have rocket bases, be able to actually deliver stuff around the world.
So, John, look, you're not nearly down in the trenches and betting careers on Elon's SpaceX and Tesla ventures, like Bryce and I are, frankly, in a hedge fund with that as two of our positions. But I mean, it's amazing to me how even people I respect still think Elon is a fraud, and they will call him the P.T. Barnum of today.
Wait, Cody, hold this. I want to throw one more example in here, which is just recently XAI put together a supercomputer cluster, and Jensen Huang said that typically takes a year to do this. And
He said 2 years. It typically takes 2 years.
I heard a year, but they did it in 19 days.
No, what he said is it takes a year to build the data. Typically, it takes a year to build the data center and a year to get it all up and running.
Yeah.
And Elon had that thing built within a few weeks or a few months. And then he had the actually integration and it up and running within 19 days. And Jensen, is it Huang or Huang?
Huang.
Jensen Huang said that that Elon is singular in his ability to understand engineering and to marshal resources behind the engineering to get things done like that.
And so the
No
question
one else could do that.
This is the conversation I'm seeing more and more lately is, how do we replicate that anything, even a fraction of what's going on there with industry elsewhere? Because people are, I think, that weren't believing this stuff. More of them are saying, no, it's time to start learning from it.
John, is there any, I think you would agree that you might, whether you agree completely or not, you think Sam Altman might be a little bit fraudish.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna apply the word fraud on it, but doesn't own all of what's coming. Yeah.
And then do you have any vibes like that about Elon?
I don't. Obviously, he seems to just technically get at a real deep level all of these different areas that he's involved in, and there's a dozen of them or something. So that has to make, even if I have some natural kind of knee jerk, how can you jump in at this AI level with these folks who are doing these things? I have to remind myself he's done it with everything else, and if he doesn't even have to be the one doing that. He has to go and put the team together and let them do their thing, kind of thing. So
Bryce, what was it a week or two ago? I asked you, why did so and so reveal some? Oh, it was Mark Zuckerberg, the Meta glasses that it's like sunglasses that'll basically replace the Oculus headset within 2 or 3 years. But I was like, if it's not ready to be sold, why did they even reveal it? Bryce, what was your answer, which I liked?
There's 2 reasons. The first is to show your investors in the market that your investment of their billions of dollars is producing something that thing costs that's $30-40 billion in 6-7 years worth of work in that one set of glasses. Then the second reason is for recruiting, because you're fighting for a very limited talent pool of specialized engineers that know how to build holographic displays on silicon carbide, and you're competing with a company called Apple. And so you've got to show that you've got a real product, that you're better than that other guy. And if you want to get rich, come work for us. We'll make you rich building glasses, and Apple won't. And
I like that example. And so I bring that up because it's sort of like why after the event with Elon, we went home that night and I was just like, why did they even do this reveal? This is stupid. If they weren't going to tell us when it's actually going to be in the market, and when they didn't tell us when, and there was no details. So why even bother with the reveal? And I go back to what Bryce said on that. I think there are 2 primary reasons. Number one, hey, look, investors, we are developing this stuff, and that might be considered hype. Fine. Mm-hmm. But then the talent that Elon has assembled and continues to recruit needs to know that they're going to be working on not some of the most groundbreaking stuff on the planet. And that obviously is good for recruitment. John, your thoughts?
No, I think Bryce's kind of analysis of that is very good and spot on, and the application of it to Tesla makes sense. One other thing I think is that I got to stop and go, like, let's remind ourselves that the Meta kind of announcement and things we saw come out there was like 1 month ago. And then we had all this stuff from Tesla, and then we had this from SpaceX, and like, talk about acceleration.
You're right.
Right. So let's talk about my Kurzweilian acceleration of technological innovation. All I'm saying is, I'm quoting Ray Kurzweil and even Isaac Newton, who says that we stand on the shoulders of giants. And what that means is it doesn't happen in a vacuum. Those glasses don't get developed without better chips and smaller chips from NVIDIA, Qualcomm, made by TSM, with new nodes made by ASML and KLAC and Applied Materials, and assembled by somewhere and put into these glasses with software that is developed and an operating system. And I mean, when you really step back and look at what the 20,000 years ago, people rode horses and maybe pulled some stuff with those horses that had wheels on it. 2,000 years ago, people rode horses and pulled stuff with those horses that had wheels on it. 250 years ago, people what? Rode horses and pulled things with them that had wheels on it. And you fast forward to today, and we've gone from the Model T to the Cybertruck in 100 years. And we went from a Volkswagen Beetle to the Cybertruck in 50 years. And the acceleration of all of it is happening. And this is what the human mind, including me, who has spent my entire career thinking about, betting on, and writing this exponential growth and acceleration of that growth for 30 years. I can't fathom that it just keeps getting faster, that we keep developing things more efficiently and make more money, and prosperity around the world continues to increase on an exponential growth. And you got to dream big. I don't dream big enough. I don't care how big I dream. It's not big enough, John.
It's crazy. But John is right. There has been a lot of advancement even this year as people have doubted AI. You know, the AI doubt has started to creep in, and we've still seen some pretty amazing advancements.
Constant. That's why, like, every week we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Well, that's amazing. So would this be amazing? This will be out in 2 years. Oh my God, like 2 years is nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some kind of, just to hit it from the other side a little bit, there's the Apple research report that what we see going on with like the latest advancements in the language models and so forth, it's not reasoning. And what do we mean by that? And I went deep on one person's analysis of that, where he said, try to get the computer, the language model, to write code that will do this particular algorithm. And he goes, but in order to make it not be something that's out there anywhere on the web, has never been done before, here are a couple variations. It's like, make this search tree that then reverses its keys and pulls stuff out, whatever, but make sure it does it this way, and it's one recursion algorithm and blah, blah. And it's like, it doesn't exist anywhere. But humans can, go, I think about it for a while, but I can do this. And it turns out to be like 17 lines of code or something. It's not like some huge whatever. And the programs that are out there get it never. And it's like
never so far.
Yeah,
never so far.
No, I mean, it's he goes beyond the so far, and he shows with kind of applying the example, to it. It's like, it's not a question of giving it. You could say, give it more time. You could say, etc. But it's like, you're not allowed to give it a prompt where the prompt itself contains the answer, because the whole point is, can it reason about it? Can it go through the architecture of a large language model kind of goes in one direction, where it hands back out what it thinks some answer is. It doesn't go, well, let me apply this and do that, and then take it back and do this other thing with it. So, can agents do it? Maybe. But the stuff they've invented so far reasoning is not happening. It's according to that guy, according to Apple,
Right.
And
It's more predictive than it is reasoned, right? I
you
mean,
can say, like, does it matter? As long if it can do, any variations on anything that's ever been done by any human, maybe that gets you, so far down the road that it doesn't matter.
John, I mean, I guess I'd come back to the fact that we're 2 years into this since the ChatGPT moment, and it doesn't I don't think I don't think Ilya over there, who used to be at OpenAI as the chief scientist, I don't think he can fathom how far this is going to go in the next 5 to 7 years on that same Kurzweilian acceleration of improvement. I mean,
the only thing I would say about it is it's the only argument they're making is that it doesn't happen with this architecture. But people keep making variations on the architecture. I don't care
that's
what
fine. Someone's going to come up with a better architecture in 2 years.
Yeah. Go make a variation on it that goes and does this or that, and then break through that kind of thing.
It really is the I think what we're getting at. And look, again, I don't want to be pie in the sky, Pollyanna. I'm a skeptic at heart, and I want to be skeptical about all this. I'm a cynic at heart, even more than a skeptic. And I want to be cynical about all of it, but you can't deny that we're living in this miraculous time and place where 30 years ago we were watching Star Trek: The Next Generation and couldn't believe the technology, even like the technology they advanced, where they were like no longer beep, 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 Scotty, beam me up, to Data, beam me up. Like it advanced, but the fact is that we now have the ability to have that button. And 30 years ago, when they did that on Star Trek Next Generation, I was like, dude, can you imagine someday you'd have a device that small? You could actually talk and receive, like have a transceiver that small. And we are here. And whether you're talking about the iPad being what Bones used to use to scan stuff, and now Ameris, we use iPad to scan stuff on Ameris regularly. And it works. Like, we are living in a miraculous time and place, and anything that human beings can imagine is being built.
That's key, is that it's related to what we imagine. So like the Star Trek thing, because I think we end up thinking, I know I do until I check myself, that, wow, look, we've actually made this much 80% advance toward the future kind of thing. And Cody, we lost you again. I don't know if it's on purpose, but it's like,
I think I have bad internet.
So like, wow, look, we made 80% advance toward the future. It's like, no, we made 80% advance toward the future we were imagining back then. And I heard this thing about the Tesla, launch day, or whatever you call that, demo day, was that they're using a designer on these cabs and other things, who's thinking of things like, what did the future look like in the 80s and 90s? What were we thinking the future would be like? Because that way, when you make it, it looks to people like the future, because that's the future that's in their head.
Yeah, that's interesting.
No, you're right. And I guess that's the point, is what are people picturing right now, including what you just described? People right now are starting to picture the need for a large language model or whatever. They're picturing the need for AI that actually reasons. And so in 5 or 10 years, human beings will have created AI that actually reasons.
I'm using the real-time, whatever they call advanced voice now on ChatGPT. And my daughter was visiting, and I set it down next to her. We had this guy involved in our conversation, and she was making a meal in the kitchen for us there. And I was telling the guy what we were making, and it's like, oh, that's cool. Are you using this and that? She's like, yes. And then I said, well, come up with a story about this. She's making what's it called? Crab. It's like wontons, crab rangoon or something. And she goes, and I said, go make up a story about somebody who made this stuff where they come home and things wasn't a great day, and they smell dinner being made, and it was this and so forth. And it goes, oh, no problem. And it starts telling this story. And then, my daughter speaks French. So I said, no, tell the story in French. And it just switched over and just told it told it in French. And it's just amazing.
You're muted. Cody, you're muted. Muted.
Did you guys see the holodeck that someone made?
Sounds like you're on it right now.
The holodeck that
there you go. Better. It was echoing.
like, I don't know what company it is, but they're making actual holodecks that are you're standing in. You pick I want to be on the beach and 360 degree. You're standing in the beach. They've made moving floors so that if you run inside the holodeck, you don't go anywhere, but you get the sensation that you're going somewhere. And again, this is like the first version of that. Imagine in 5 years what that holodeck is going to be like. Instead of a golf simulator room, I'll have a holodeck simulator room, and I'll be able to play football against the Broncos.
Okay, so now relating this to the economy and investing and things like that. You have these categories. We talked about biotech. You talk about medicine. Then you talk about like lifestyle or people's lives and all the ways that it can affect there. I think about things like elder care. Having robots that can be involved in that. But like every aspect of our lives, every way things currently work can be affected and will change in the coming 5 or 10 years. And so what opportunities are there and how can people look at it if that's really the case?
Yeah.
You guys want to see my Cybertruck? I'll walk outside.
Let's go.
Is anybody picturing the human lifespans going up by like 50 years, 100 years, doubling the lifespan? Like that's what he talks about in that paper too.
Yeah, they definitely talk. Cody, you're muted.
Yeah, you're muted, Cody.
You can't hijack the conversation with the Cybertruck as I'm going to the Cybertruck.
Well, I was trying to fill up time while you were
we're
takes
just
10
muted
seconds.
and
I'm
looking
here.
at the roof.
Oh, there it is.
So, John, yes or no?
Yes or no what?
Life extension within 10 years.
Everything happens right after. I'll die and then it'll happen.
Okay.
Because that's the way it works.
Fair enough. Oh, it's so cool.
Wow.
And like you don't realize how big this is. We have one down the block here, and it's like it's a decent size. It's like a F-150.
Right. Cody, we lost your feed. It's frozen. You might need to turn on, get off the Wi-Fi and go to 5G.
Yeah, still there. I had to go to LTE.
Yeah,
That's what we were just saying.
Yeah, I had to go to.
Okay, so this is looking in the back.
Yeah, that's the back.
You've
Close
been
it, of
hauling
course.
gravel around in that thing already, or what?
What's that?
It's dirty. So you've been hauling gravel around already, or what?
Dude, I live on a gravel road. I can't drive down the gravel road without getting it dusty. I mean, yeah, look at it's dust everywhere. I can't help it.
So it looks like you have not been shooting at it yet.
No, I'm not. I'm not going off-road or shooting it. I'm not going on a lake, even though it can. But yeah.
What do you mean if you go on a lake?
It's waterproof.
It's not going to float.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, go Google it. People are driving on a lake.
Holy, that's amazing.
Yeah, people in the floods in Florida were
What's with the
using it.
is that steering wheel actually usable?
Absolutely. Darius Rucker singing for us.
Oh my God, I feel like I'm getting rickrolled. Kids
I
don't
only
know
want to
what
be with you,
rickrolled is.
John.
What's that?
I only want to be with you.
You know what you need to do? You need to come up with some kind of Halloween thing with your Cybertruck, like some futuristic thing.
Oh, what you do, I plan to do, I'm going to put a skeleton here, and then I'm going to summon it and then drive it around. I'm not sure, actually. I don't think the Cybertruck's got summon yet. They haven't turned that feature on yet. Hopefully they'll have it by Halloween.
Hey, Cody.
Yes.
You have the concept of trunk or treat?
Trunk or treat? No, what is that?
So trunk or treat is when you take the kids and it's like an arranged thing. It might be in the church parking lot, and everybody just parks, and it's empty down the middle,
Oh.
and like they open up their trunks, and you go and you trick or treat from the trunks.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so you could do that with the.
I should have done the call from in here. That looks sweet with that glass roof and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
you are creating a little bit of envy.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. You look.
Golf clubs.
Yeah. Fits perfectly.
That's in the front.
That's the frunk. Yeah.
You could fit a whole set of golf clubs in the frunk.
Wow.
Yeah.
And people just thought this up when that first got shown years back. When they were kind of announcing the thing.
4.5 years
I
ago.
gotta admit, my first minute and a half, I don't know, is this a joke? And then but it was still same day. I was like, I love this thing.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I think it's the real deal. I'm quite pleased. I was excited to get it. I didn't get the Founders Edition. I waited, but now that I have it, it exceeded my expectations.
What's the range? I want to guess 400 miles.
Yeah, no. With the set I have right now, it is. Oh no, I gotta take this off. It's 330 miles on this one, and I can order a $16,000 battery pack that will extend that to 430 miles.
Oh wow, okay.
No, 460 miles. 460 miles is
Oh.
the range after you get the battery pack.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna wait and get the 18-wheeler.
The semi, absolutely.
The semi.
My dad stopped by today. He wanted to see it. So he came over and he's like, so can I pull my gooseneck trailer with that? And I said, no, you need the semi for that, Dad. And he thought he was really going to hurt my feelings. I was like, nah, it's all right.
What's a gooseneck trailer?
Bryce.
When the nose of the trailer actually sits in the bed.
Is that like a fifth wheel?
Yeah, like a fifth wheel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, us in the know. Us cowboys out here. We cowboys like Bryce and I, we call it a gooseneck trailer, not a fifth wheel.
Well, the fifth wheel and a gooseneck are two different things.
Oh, see, John, it's two different things. It's
That's
like
why
a fifth wheel. Bryce, what's the difference?
Yeah.
The hitch itself, a fifth wheel has a big old thing that you put the hitch into, and a gooseneck is just a ball in your bed, and sits on the ball. Yeah.
Okay. There you go. So it's like a fifth wheel, but not a fifth wheel.
So
Yeah.
won't pull a fifth wheel? Either? No.
I would imagine you could install the device to pull a fifth wheel, but it's going to cut the range. The people who pull trailers with Ford F-150 Lightnings and stuff find the same thing. It cuts the range, but the Tesla obviously is better at doing that stuff than all of the others.
Yeah.
So it'd probably cut the range from 330 to 250 or something like that.
I just have my
depending on how
poor
much weight you
Tacoma.
pull, and then it could go down from there.
I have my poor old, new Tacoma, which I could at least pull a 9,000 pound trailer, which is good
Yeah, no,
enough for
I
me.
saw a Cybertruck the other day because my parents live in a lake town, and it was pulling a boat from Albuquerque down to our lake town, Elephant Butte. So, I mean, you can pull with the Cybertruck. It's a regular tongue pull trailer.
Yeah.
Here, I'll present one last time here. So just so we're speaking with facts here, you can see 340 mile range. By the way, these are the Foundation series. It's 20. The one I bought was actually $79,000.
Really?
Yep.
I thought they now are making the cheapest one 100,000.
No, 79,000. If you ordered it, if you haven't ordered it yet, but you want to get it delivered right now, you can go over here and pay 95,000. But if you've ordered one,
Yeah.
it's 79,000. But you won't get it. This one, I guess you can get it right away. See, that's why they're selling.
But Cody's, is yours the all-wheel drive or the Cyber Beast?
I did the all-wheel drive.
Okay.
And the reason why is because more important than I have the Plaid, Model S Plaid, and it sacrificed like 30 miles of range to do the Plaid. And out here in rural New Mexico, I'd rather have more range than
Acceleration.
speed. Yeah,
Yeah.
than acceleration. At any rate, yeah, let's see here. 11,000 pounds of towing capacity.
Okay.
There you go.
So with this thing, I guess I was thinking about if you hit a deer, you don't even have to do that by accident. You could do that. You could hunt with it,
Come on.
and then when you hit it, you go stick it in the back.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for playing.
That was pretty funny, John.
Yeah, but technically that is correct. You can run over trees or fence posts, and it's not even going to leave a dent. I haven't tried that yet.
Yeah, don't try to dent it.
I don't plan to. My wife is pretty sure I need to try to take really good care of this thing, and that's not my forte, so I feel a lot of pressure. Lori wants to steal it. I gave her the Model S, and she wants to steal the Cybertruck. She likes it better.
I don't blame her.
Really?
Yeah, I will say, like the Cybertruck ride.
You told me the seats are a lot better.
It's so comfortable, and even just like the curves and the comfort of driving and hitting a bump, it feels like a.
What about the steer by wire? Is that strange?
It is a little strange. I will say it's not just the steer by, what's it called? Steer by wire?
Yeah, steer by wire.
Yeah, that alone, and what that does, it turns the wheels. If you want to actually turn them, you can just barely turn the steering wheel, and it'll turn the wheels a lot. But even more complicated, the back wheels turn.
Right.
And so it really is, especially like when you're in traffic and you're like trying to go around something, it's amazing how quickly it really does get the turn radius going because those back wheels help.
Amazing. Yeah. Is it 2-door or 4-door?
4-door.
Okay. It's like.
And quite roomy. Bigger than a Ford F-150 for sure.
Yeah. And somebody who asked me last week if they have a full bed, and they do. They have an 8-foot bed. You can put a whole piece of plywood in the bed.
That's bigger than, I mean, F-150 cannot hold an 8
a piece of plywood.
Yeah, no.
So there you go. So I will say I waited patiently for the non-foundation series model, and they emailed me 10 days ago and said it'll be ready when you are, if you are. And we picked it up Saturday in Albuquerque, actually just outside of Albuquerque at an Indian reservation, because New Mexico has the Republican Democrat regime in New Mexico got lobbied over the years to outlawing cars from being sold without being on a dealership lot.
Yeah.
But you obviously can use a loophole by using the sovereign nation of I don't know what the Tamaya resort, what pueblo that's on, but it's a pueblo.
That's criminal. But it's amazing that he's gotten the car company going at all with all the laws against, being able to do it. It's just
yeah. All right. Well, anything else? Last words.
I think it's now I got to go spend whatever free time trying to just absorb these changes in technology. Think back over the last even just month or two and go, how many different vectors are at play here.
Yeah. AI, VR, full self-driving, humanoid robots, all of that stuff is happening in real time, ever faster in front of us. Bryce, last words.
I am excited about seeing your Cybertruck.
I will come next Monday to Las Cruces and hang out for a night and 2 days of work.
Cool. All right.
We'll be back next Monday, same time, 5 p.m. Eastern, the AI revolution. Be there or be square, like the Cybertruck. Bye.
Bye.